Liss. The name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me each week at this time as we explore places to go and things to do. For a long time, I have known the work of an actor, a singer. I discovered him actually when the New York City Opera did Sweeney Todd. Great show, and he had a major role in that. And I've watched his work since then. I was delighted that February 21st, he's going to be appearing at the Emelin Theater. And so I've invited him to come to the show. And so my guest today is Cris Groenendaal. It's a name that's an interesting name, and I will pronounce once or twice more on the show and get it right. But you've done so much theater, and you've done concerts, and you're doing cabaret. Is the transition from theater, you just closed recently in a funny thing on Broadway, is the transition from theater to cabaret a giant leap?
I guess it depends on the person. You know, some people are more comfortable doing a theater piece, a theatrical piece, because they have a character to work within, to hide behind, and you invest your own personality within that character. But in a cabaret setting or in a concert setting where you're simply interpreting songs, you're pretty much yourself, so you can't really hide behind that persona.
Is it hiding?
Yeah, I think within a character you do hide, or you bring out aspects of yourself that people don't know about. But in a cabaret setting, when you're doing songs of Jerome Kern or Andrew Lloyd Webber or Stephen Sondheim, you don't really have a character unless you do it or pretend you're doing it within the context of the original work. But usually you're not. Usually you're simply interpreting it as you see it.
But of course, the nice thing about doing cabaret is you choose what you're going to do.
That's very nice. Yeah, you get to choose the material. You get to choose material. You get to sing songs from shows, possibly from roles that you'll never be cast in. So you get to do that.
And you can also determine the pace. And is what you do set? Do you know exactly which number you're going to do in which? Or I know audience reaction is always very important. Can you change things in midstream, so to speak?
You can if you have enough material, and you usually do. And usually the program is quite set. My wife and I have about a 2-hour evening that we've been doing around as a fundraiser, as part of a performance arts center. We performed as far away as the newly refurbished theater in Honolulu, Hawaii, where I played the Phantom twice. So I have a bit of a fan base out there, if you will. So and we performed a couple times in Anchorage, Alaska, and Fairbanks, Alaska, and that's this 2-hour evening with an intermission. So there's quite a bit of material there. For the Emelin, we've cut it down because we're doing it twice in the same evening, 7 and 9:30. So the show will be a little hour plus, you know. So but even there, the show is set. We know exactly what the order is going to be, and we probably won't digress from that order too much.
You mentioned your wife, of course, Sue Anderson.
Yes, my wife, Sue Anderson, who is home with the small children. We've got 2 children, Lucas and Emily, and but before we had them, she's also had quite a career on Broadway. She's done 4 Broadway shows as a pianist in the pit, or as a musical director or conductor of such shows as Cats and Me and My Girl and Pirates of Penzance. And she was the featured onstage pianist in Jerry's Girls on Broadway.
I noticed in some of the material that she's got some wonderful anecdotes, and if she wasn't on the mommy track today, I asked her herself, but I see that
it's true.
She coached Rex Harrison.
Yeah, she got this reputation. She's a very... her family's from Wisconsin, and they're very positive, upbeat, optimistic kinds of people with a great deal of patience. And she got this reputation for dealing well with possibly tempestuous major stars. So when Rex Harrison was they decided she could coach Rex Harrison back into My Fair Lady, his revival, and they wanted her to work with Anthony Quinn and Zorba. She couldn't do that. And then when the TV movie Svengali was coming out with Peter O'Toole, she was hired to teach him to try to teach him to play the piano, and
Was she successful?
No, she had to, if this were a piano, she had to, but he wanted to look like he was playing.
Yes.
So she crawled underneath the piano and she put her head back in his lap and put her hands up on the keys, and then she would play and he would rest his hands on hers and she would play. And then Tony Harvey, who filmed Lion in Winter. He did that film, and then when he was doing The Ultimate Solution of Grace Quigley with Katharine Hepburn and Nick Nolte, he hired Sue again because there was another scene in the old folks' home where some 95-year-old actor had to play the piano, and he couldn't play either, so he hired Sue to come and do her under the piano bit, and he calls Kate Hepburn, Kate, you got to come out here and see this. So she crawls under the piano and puts her head in his lap and does her bit.
And, I wonder if any outtakes exist of that. Those wonderful moments.
Yeah, there should be.
Oh, wait a minute. If she's under the... Oh, yeah, she is facing the piano, and you didn't have to do it backwards.
No, not backwards.
A talented family.
Yeah, she's very talented. And
it's great that she's appearing with you. And
yeah, we enjoy this format a great deal because, as they say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So we're trying to use, I call my career clawing my way to the middle. I'm writing my autobiography, clawing my way to the middle right now. And
but you're working pretty much all the time, aren't you?
I've been working a lot, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I was just offered the national tour of Ragtime, playing father in the national tour. So we are in the early negotiating stage, as they say, of that.
But when I look at your credits here, the things you've done, as I said, Sweeney Todd, The Phantom of the Opera,
right.
Which you played Andre, and then
I originated Andre in the company with Michael Crawford and Sarah
talk about
Brightman.
getting into a character. We have a photo of you in character there, and I thought that was very interesting, and I do want to show that photo. But when you're in that, of course, when you get into the character in Phantom, nobody ever sees what you look like.
Right.
Is that something that goes with the role, as far as
that goes with the role?
With every role?
Well, not every role. Well, a lot of the roles I've been playing, they don't seem to want me to look the way I look in true life. I mean, the day that I get to actually wear a T-shirt and do Rent, I think it's long gone. They usually. Actually, my friend Betsy Jocelyn and I, who played the lovers in Sweeney Todd, and in the PBS version of Sweeney Todd with Angela Lansbury, we were the young, good-looking ingenues, and we pretty much looked like we looked. And then 10 years later, they were throwing prosthetics and masks on me, and she was playing the witch in Into the Woods, and they were throwing prosthetics on her, so it changes.
How about in Sunday in the Park with George?
Sunday in the Park with George, I did strange things with my hair, slicked my hair straight back, and had a full beard. And Passion that I did a couple of years ago on Broadway, again I had a full beard and slicked my hair back. And in Forum that I just did, they threw a black curly wig on me and a full black beard and a mustache, which I couldn't take after about a year, so I grew my own beard again.
That was a question that I often wonder about, and maybe this is a great opportunity to ask that. When you see a performer in a beard and he's playing that show 8 times a week, does it pay to grow a beard and not have to put that makeup on every?
Yeah, I think it does. It depends on the person's face and how it reacts to the shaving every day, the glue, getting it off then with the acetone, and it can really, with Forum, my face started to look pretty bad, red patches and very sore, and I had to shave around them, and I had to put the glue around them, and so growing my own beard not only freed up my jaw, made I could sing better actually because the other beard felt constricting. even though it was in 3 pieces.
Some of the backstage things about the theater that people don't think
know.
about, don't know, and don't think about.
I didn't have much trouble with the prosthetics of Phantom. Once they discovered there's different strengths of glue, and if you're not a heavy sweater, you can use glue that's not as tough to your skin or on your skin, and we discovered what was right for me, and I didn't have much trouble with the because they do glue the prosthetics onto your face for the Phantom. But I did enjoy coming out the stage door as the Phantom because I was always the last one. As the Phantom, you're always pretty much the last character to come out the door. So if there were people standing there with programs, I would always ask them, who are you waiting for? Because they didn't, they'd say, well, we're waiting for the Phantom. I say, well, that would be me. Because, I would come out the stage door with my briefcase and some kind of a cap on, and they just don't have a clue.
Don't have any way of knowing that.
I could walk out through crowds that had just seen the show, and they wouldn't have a clue. I enjoy that, actually.
It's a question that I often ask performers. The other day I was in a restaurant across the street from Lincoln Center, and a man walked in who I spotted immediately. Nobody else seemed to know him. And he sat down at the table next to us, and I said, is it better to be recognized or not to be recognized? It was Craig Nelson, who, of course, has done a lot of TV, coach, and he's opening up on Lincoln Center. Sometimes both, he said. I would imagine that if you have a famous face, a television face, and you're not recognized, it's kind of, you wonder whether you're reaching your audience. On the other hand, it can be very annoying. It can be annoying, if people interfere with you, like he was with a half a dozen people, and if people keep around them and stared at him and asked for autographs, that could be very annoying.
Right. You really have to have that television exposure in this country or film exposure to achieve that kind of notoriety. I mean, you can be a star on Broadway and just be as anonymous as you like.
Especially since you always cover up what you look like.
Pretty much. Yeah. As Hal Prince once said to me, I only hire you for 19th century revenge tragedies. And he put me in Sweeney Todd, and he put me in Phantom, and he put me in Candide for Beverly Hills at City Opera, and they're all of that ilk, heavily costumed, heavily made up, and period pieces, and so you rarely do look what you look like.
But of course, you're tall and good-looking, very strong tenor. You are a tenor?
I guess on the rostrum at City Opera, they have me listed as one of their tenors only because in the musical theater lexicon or the repertoire, I would sing Mr. Snow as opposed to Billy Bigelow, the tenor within that piece as opposed to the baritone. Now, when I go out and do concerts with symphonies, I sing the soliloquy, which is Billy Bigelow's number. Yes. So even though my voice has a kind of, I look upon myself as like a second tenor, because I don't have the high notes of the tenor, and I also look upon my voice as a kind of lyric baritone, because I can sing that repertoire.
Is John Raitt, or was John Raitt?
John Raitt was a lyric baritone with an incredible extension. I did 2 shows with him early in my career. In a summer stock, I did Shenandoah with him. He played my dad, and I did La Mancha with him. He, of course, played Quixote, and I played the Padre. And I loved working with him. He taught me a lot.
Taught you a lot. Do you learn from others? I've heard people interviewed who always say, I learned so much from watching Marlon Brando, actors who said this. What do you learn from another performer?
Well, first of all, if that performer takes an interest in you and they actually teach you, John Raitt actually said to me one night, I was playing the Padre, and I had broken my ankle recently, so I was doing the role with a crutch, and we were in a tent theater, and I had to sing. I went down a ramp, and I had to sing at the entrance to the stage. I couldn't go on stage, and I started to sing, and he came over to me, and he said, you have to open up. You have to sing to all sides. So that was he took an interest, and he was very personal. In terms of just watching people, you can learn a lot, too. You learn about concentration and consistency. Michael Crawford, as a Phantom, I was playing Andre while he was playing the Phantom, and you could watch him night after night, and his performance was very consistent, and he he gave everything that he had every night, and those are the kinds of things that you learn.
It's amazing that the audience doesn't realize the things that you're describing.
Yeah, hopefully they see it in the excellence of the performance,
Right.
and they simply enjoy it. And
but
they,
are not interpreting it, and it's like listening to music and saying, gee, I'm listening to the trombone.
Right.
You just know that's great. I just want to get into some other things, but first I do want to remind our viewers that my guest today is, and I'm going to talk about it, Cris Groenendaal. And he is appearing in concert, in cabaret, with his wife, Sue Anderson, at the Emelin Theater on February 21st, 2 shows. And I've known his work, and I've admired his work in shows for a long, long time, and I'm so glad that he's here today. Your name fascinates me. People change their name in the theater, but yours, even though I have difficulty remembering the pronunciation, is hard to forget. I mean, if you were Charlie Smith, I may not have remembered that I had seen you in all these shows.
of course, when you're signing an autograph, Charlie Smith is really kind of flows off the pen. Yeah, it's interesting. The first review I ever got from a major reviewer in New York was Clive Barnes when he saw me and when I took over the role of the sailor Anthony in Sweeney Todd, and he said I was going to be a star and I should change the spelling of my name, and I decided then that the business was going to learn the name. That's my name, and I think that era of that movie era of people changing their names from whatever it was to Rock Hudson or those
Cary
kinds
Grant.
of Cary Grant, those kind of that's there's not a lot of that going on right now.
Interestingly, on the subject of a name, I asked a question of Tova Felcher when she was here, and I asked her if her name was helpful to her or was a detriment to her getting roles. Is your name helpful to you, or is it detrimental to getting roles?
I don't think the name. I don't think the name matters really in terms of getting roles or not getting roles. I think your reputation and how you're viewed in the business can be helpful or detrimental. Your
reputation and how you're viewed by whom?
By the powers that be, by the powers who produce, who cast.
How Prince, if he knows your work and likes your work, that's a definite asset.
That's a definite asset if he's doing a project that he thinks you're absolutely right for. They only hire you, even your people you've worked for a lot, when they, even people who say they'll never work with you again, they hire you when they need you. And the casting directors have become, in the last 15 years, extremely powerful. And if you're not somehow on their A-list, you're not. There can be a role that you could do in your sleep. For example, when Beauty and the Beast was casting, I know that I would be at worst a decent beast, and I never got an audition because the casting people felt that it was just not a role that I could do, should do, would be doing, that I was right for in any way, shape, or form, and they have an image of you because of. Now I've been in New York 22 years, so the whole casting, producing establishment, if my name comes across their desk, they have this image of me. Maybe they just saw Sweeney Todd on PBS and they see this young Bambi-like fellow in a blue suit singing Joanna, and that this is still their image of me,
Yes.
And they don't know that I've aged. When was that? 81, 91. 16 years. Have gone by, and you're a different person, and you look different, and you're a different performer, and you've gained a lot of experience, and they sometimes take what they think is your reputation or your.
It's interesting to me, Cris, that you talk about what you look like. I have a photo here, and of course I don't recognize you in this picture because of makeup. But who is the gentleman on your left?
And if you see, we're exactly the same height.
The gentleman on your left is somebody. He's not wearing any makeup at the moment.
No, he's not, and he's smiling, which you haven't seen him doing much lately.
That's right. And when was this picture taken?
This was Whoopi Goldberg. This was, I believe, the first time since the Eisenhower administration that an administration bought out an entire theatrical performance of a Broadway show as a fundraiser. So it was a Democratic fundraiser, and they
This is
came.
Forum.
This was a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum, and Whoopi Goldberg was starring at the time, and they came. Bill Clinton and
Hillary.
no, Hillary was not there. Al Gore and the president, they moved 3 rows, they took 3 rows out, the first 3 rows out, and they had Bill Clinton and Al Gore sitting right next to each other, dead center, and there were Secret Service everywhere, lining the theater, backstage. You couldn't move for the Secret Service people. And when the show was over, Whoopi Goldberg called him up on stage, and she said, "Was I supposed to do that?" She wasn't even sure. And he came up, and he was very gracious. He and Al Gore had their pictures taken with all of us.
Now we're back to that question: is it better to be recognized than not to be recognized? Is it maybe in these times an appropriate question? Is it better to be president than not to be president? Hillary Clinton said on television not too long ago that when you're in this position, your life is so completely different. Everything that you do. People in government politics have told me that life is a fishbowl, and we're certainly seeing that in the current
I don't know
situation.
I don't know how he's running the country right now. How could you? You're trying to decide whether or not you're supposed to have some kind of possibly attacking Iraq militarily. You're trying to decide those kinds of questions, and then his personal life is in this fishbowl, and it's I have no idea. I'm glad I'm not in that position. I do understand, people who are really, truly famous in this business who don't want their children to be photographed because they fear kidnapping. And even the other night, the paparazzi who were trying to get photos of Monica Lewinsky were, I guess there was a car ran over his foot, and, whose fault is it? Is it the driver's fault, or is it they're there, they're trying to do their job.
It's a very difficult situation. Of course, in today's world, that's what exists, and certainly it's better maybe not to be the most famous person and to work all the time.
Yeah,
although
I think so.
Although we talked about auditioning and being called in at least to audition for a role, Rue McClanahan on this program said, can you think of any other business or profession where you're looking for a job 9 times a year?
It's absolutely true. I mean, we finished Forum it was January 4th was our final performance, and so that was a Sunday. And on Monday, I actually, so there I was on Broadway. I had this terrific role, and I'd been doing it for, a year, and I played the Phantom, 860 times with 3 different companies. And the very next day, I was auditioning for the guys up here at the Westchester Broadway Theater, their production of La Cage aux Folles. And, so basically I was auditioning for their, a dinner theater job coming from Broadway, and I didn't get the job. So it's crazy, and then...
It's too bad you didn't get it, because you could have been on the show again.
I could have been on the show again. I don't know who got it, but I didn't get it. So you can be on Broadway one day, and the next day you're auditioning for, what's considered a lesser job, just an important job. It would have been a nice commute for me coming from Croton.
Sure.
But and I've worked for the guys who run the Westchester Broadway Theater before, and I like them very much. But that director will say, "Oh, he's not right for this," or "I don't see him in this."
Funny business, isn't it?
Very funny.
One of the things that is very, very good is that you've done this very good recording, Always, Music for Our Children. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. A few years ago, my wife and I decided that it was time that I did a debut solo album, if you will. And so we produced it ourselves. And the catalyst was our first child, Lucas, was born, and we were kind of inspired to do... The reason why we entitled this Music for Our Children was this is not the Barney Meets Raffi songbook. We had the idea, he was about 1 year old at the time, and we had the idea that we would take an adult collection of songs and orchestrate them in such a way that, and then I would sing them as if I were singing these songs, these adult songs, to him. So it's a very eclectic set of songs. There's a Bob Dylan song in there. There's a Beatles song in there. There are songs from about 4 different Broadway shows. There are some classic, not baby songs, but songs like Babyface and You Made Me Love You. And So it's and Irving Berlin's Always, the kind of things that you might sing to a child, like Not While I'm Around from Sweeney Todd. So
I love that. I love that number. It stays with me.
It's a great number, and it's the kind of thing you would sing to a child. Nothing's going to harm you, not while I'm around.
You're too tall for that part, though.
I'm too tall for that part, and too sane. Hopefully too sane.
One of the things that I want to be sure to do is to give the number for people to call for information at the Emelin Theater, and that number, of course, is 914-698-0098. 914-698-0098, and we'll put that up in the closing credits.
Thank you.
So you'll be doing 2 shows there on February 21st,
right,
with your wife, with Sue.
My wife at the piano, and that too is an eclectic set. It's a combination of theater pieces and what we have like a cabaret section. So we will be singing songs by composers, Stephen Sondheim. We actually sing 2 songs by Mark Blitzstein. We sing, I sing some Andrew Lloyd Webber. We sing a section of favorites. We sing songs from Cats and A Little Night Music and Phantom and Les Mis. We sing some Candor and Ebb. And we sing some original cabaret songs by friends of ours, Gordon Cannell and John Forster and Marshall Bearer.
John Forster, he's been here on the show. He's
very funny.
Very clever.
Very clever, very topical, he's like the Lehrer of his generation.
Right.
And so there's a whole section of original kind of very amusing cabaret numbers.
Sounds really great, and I'm sure it's going to be a great show. And this has been a great show. You've been very informative.
Thank you.
And I'm so
Are we
glad
done?
that you came. And we have run out of time, and,
right.
and I'm delighted you've come here and talked
Thanks.
to us. And all I can say to you is go see Cris at the Emelin Theater on February 21st. He's going to do a wonderful job. I'm Norman Liss. The name of this program is The Way to Go. And until next time, enjoy yourself.